Hey, loves. Hope everyone's doing great out there. Uh, so we've got a tough topic today, but I hope you will enjoy. One of the big things is I really want to help you guys, help us, help y'all journey together. And that's what this whole channel is about. Hopefully, these videos are insightful and helpful and beneficial to those who are tuning in. This is Love Fully Alive. So, if you want to do us a huge favor, share these clips with those you know who may be, a little bit struggling or wanting a little more, especially in their relationships. This is all about relationships. This is about being better at who God is calling us to be. And a lot of times it's a little hard to do that all on our own. So we hope that this builds up a community. So if you've enjoyed it so far, and if you actually come across this one, it means that you're looking for it. You're seeking, you're longing. And that's a good thing. So, hey, why not give us that thumbs up right then and there? Like the video. The more we like them, the more we're able to continue just journeying with you guys and share a lot more. And so, hopefully, we can continue to do this. I know I keep saying us. My beloved will be joining us shortly. I have full confidence in that. So please pray for him. He's actually been sick under the weather this past week. So please just say a little more extra prayer for him that he continues to get better. Okay, so we want you to know that we are actually doing this because of you, for you, with you. And we want you to know that we are doing everything we can to accompany one another on this journey, on this voyage of life and love. So, and hopefully, as we grow, we are engaging in that love fully alive. So, hope you can continue to journey with us. So, today's topic. Okay, so today's topic is marriage what I thought it was? Or is marriage what I thought it was going to be? Those of you that are married know that you're probably answering no, not to that, right? No, had no clue it was like this. Didn't know what I was getting into when we started. And so that will just take us a little bit to the beginning of us. For our first 5 to 6 years, we were living together. We weren't married. Shocker. Yep, spoiler alert. Of course, no one's perfect, right? So here you go. We were living together and we struggled immensely. It was rough. So we were playing married life, but we weren't living it. We were pretending to be. And I say that with all sensitivity to those who are living together. And you'll understand why I say it that way, because it was a struggle. And we were trying really hard to do things our way. And hell or high water, we were going to make it work because we had children. Of course, a lot of us couples nowadays have our children before we even approach the altar. And so when we go out and do ministry, we are ministering from that perspective. We are starting right from the beginning of who we were and being real with you about who we were and who we are now and how we got from there to here. And that's what it's all about. This is what Love Fully Alive is all about. So, but I want you guys to understand, we want you to understand that you're not in this alone. No one is. Even if we don't acknowledge the people around us, we're there. We are praying, we are loving you unconditionally, and all we desire to do is to build you up, help you find that greater, better you. So, going back to our story, first 5, 6 years, we were living married. We were pretending to be. We were living together. And now that we've been involved in ministry, this is a little tidbit that I will share with you guys. 65% of couples who cohabitate, who live together before getting married, 65% of those couples end up divorcing after they get married. So that's a huge reality check. So the odds were against us and hugely stacked against us. So, The struggle was hard. It causes so much, it caused so much suffering because we were just bent on making things work for the sake of our children. Now, newsflash, that's not what married life is all about. That's not what love is about. Remember, in previous episodes, we shared that love is freely given and freely received. If you think about someone in a relationship and living it out like that, that's not free. That's force in the hand. That's force in the heart. And that's rough. You talk about a chaotic life and household. Yep, there was manipulation going on. There was objectification going on. It was really sad because we were trying really, really hard to make something happen when we had no clue what it was that we were actually looking for. I've shared with you guys that I grew up in a childhood in a home where my parents were divorced, and so I really didn't know what marriage was supposed to look like. I didn't have it modeled, but I do remember as a kid going over to my best friend's house and always loving the fact that there was a mother and a father in that home. And I spent as much time as I could over there. Not really, now looking back, I know why I was intrigued by that family life. But I didn't know it when I was a little girl. And so all I knew that it felt good, it felt safe, it felt real, and I loved every minute of it. So that was my insight into what married life should have been. Now, in this same state, these first 6 years of our relationship, of living together, where was God in the picture? Non-existing. Non-existing. One thing that was huge in our life was that we had a child, we baptized that child. That's when God would come in, whenever the sacraments came into play. And so, of course, hello, and thankfully so, because our kids were baptized pretty young, and so that was a good thing. But that was the only time God was brought into the picture. So let me show you this. This is really cool. So we would engage in these marital acts, which is what they're called because that's what sex was created for the sake of marriage, for the sake of building up family life, for the sake of bringing one together with the other, the unitive and the procreative. That is the purpose of married life. And it's a beautiful thing when we're getting it right, when we're living it to the full. But in our first 5 to 6 years, it wasn't so. It was more like sex was something we had in order to feel affection, in order to feel loved, in order to feel wanted. That's probably better than the word love. It was in order to feel wanted, like I'm wanted here. But where was God in the midst of that? Not even close. God wasn't even in the household. God was not on the same page with us. He was. Remember, the only time God came into the picture is when we had a child, and here comes the sacrament that was needed, baptism. Okay, so that was us in the beginning. Boy, was it rough. If you're in the midst of that now, please do yourself a favor. Stop. Make things right. You need God in that picture. You cannot make marriage happen without Him. He is the creator of the union of man and woman. He knows what He had in mind when He spoke of marriage. So please, please, if you're in that place, stop. Help yourself, help your beloved, help your loved ones, help your children see truth, see beauty, see marriage according to what it was planned and designed for from the beginning. Okay, so that was us. And when I mean the struggle was real, it was hard, it was rough, it was bad, it was chaotic, it was a love-hate relationship, and it was sad because it was very hurtful. And we were painting an image of relationship that wasn't true, that wasn't real, that wasn't purified, that wasn't in accordance with God's plan and design for us, for men and women. So you talk about the destruction we created, not only within our own lives, within our relationship, but within our children's eyes and within their relationships and even friendships after that. So, but that's another episode, and I'm pretty sure we'll dive in there and what all that caused and created. Here, almost 22 years after the fact. So, okay, so next we finally get married. We receive the sacrament of matrimony. But I call this stage married and broken. It's tough to admit, but it's so true. Our first few years of marriage was also hard, in a sense that everything we did before getting married was in our relationship, right? You can't just erase all that. Although we like to try, we like to sweep it all under the rug and pretend that never happened. We never said those things. We never did that to each other. We didn't go there. We didn't do that. Blah, blah, blah. Well, sorry. It doesn't just get wiped out just like that by sweeping it under the rug. No, not like that. So we were married and broken. And in this time frame, I remember lying in bed next to my beloved Tino and our children across the hall in their bedroom, and being stirred up, being woken up in the middle of the night and feeling completely alone. Feeling so alone. Feeling utterly alone, profoundly alone. And I just woke and I thought, this cannot be all there is. This isn't all there is to life. This cannot be all there is to marriage. This cannot be all there is to family. There's got to be more. There has to be more. And I just, that stirring within started something. Oh boy, did it start something. It just, this ache, this hunger, this desire, this yearning for more just spiraled into greater, into bigger, into seeking. And that began my journey, our journey, into looking for that more. We had no idea what we were looking for, but I knew there was more. So this is when God comes into the picture. We're finally married in the church. And even though all those wounds and hurts took place our first 5-6 years, they were enough to do some serious damage. So even within our first year of married life, we separate a third time. And in the midst of that separation, there was just so much that took place. We hurt each other in so many ways that we don't realize. In the midst of it, we're trying to escape. We're trying to run from the misery we created for ourselves. And it's the hardest thing to take a look at that misery and be accountable for it. Own up to your part. And so the next best thing is to run away from it. Just pretend like it never happened and let me drown my sorrows in whatever I can, in the temporal things. And yeah, that works for a little while, but that's a temporal fix. Because when the next day comes, it's all there again. And it wasn't working out. So when we finally got back together after splitting up a year after married life, the actual married life, we come back to one another. And now we're having to look at all this stuff. God keeps prompting and that stirring within for more. He starts, we start developing this relationship with God, with the church. I come back to church and I'm in communion as much as I possibly can. I go and be reconciled. I have a first confession in almost 20 something years. It's huge. And that does a great deal of grace that was so needed within our home, within our family, within our marriage. And in the beginning, that was good enough. It was what spearheaded my desire to learn more about our faith, especially in regards to married life and family. And so God heard that ache. He placed that. And this is what's so cool about our merciful Father. He places those longings, those desires in our hearts from the very beginning. And we think it's something outside of ourselves. No, it's within. It's what He has created us for. And so with that yearning, I started growing. I started looking for things. I started seeking Him more out. I started tapping into truth and these beauties, and eventually came across Theology of the Body, which we've shared in previous episode what TOB is. But the beautiful part about what Theology of the Body did for me personally in our marriage and our family life is it helped me go from what was happening here, what I desired here, to finally come into my heart. And even though my heart was still wounded and still struggling with a little bit of doubt and fear and maybe even confusion, the Theology of the Body was able to pierce that heart. The big piece, though, was being able to surrender those things that were twisted and begin that healing process. And I share all this with you because it's what brought me into the fullness of our marriage, into our married life, into our family life. And that's what this is all about. Is marriage, or was marriage, what I thought it was? No. Because in the beginning, I didn't have a good idea of what marriage should have been to begin with. We were already living together. That's not married life. That's not, I'm sorry, but it's just not. Now I know why our beautiful faith is strongly suggests for us not to have premarital sex, because we do so much damage with that, and then we want to get married and we bring that into the marriage, and it's not good, it's not healthy, it's not according to God's plan, and it's so not what God intended our sexuality to be for. Okay, so here we are. I'm wounded and feeling all alone, and then I find that this ache, this hunger, is being stirred within me and being fed in and through God, through the truth, through His goodness, through the beauty of what it is, of who I am, who my beloved is, and what we're meant for, who we are together. And so we start journeying from the head to the heart, and then we go from the heart to the head. I know it sounds crazy, but when you're in the midst of it, it makes complete total sense, because this is how cool it was. Once we were opened up to what God had planned and what God designed for married life, for family life in the beginning, from the very beginning, we were open to receive these truths. These truths began piercing our hearts. And this is how awesome it was. I remember being at my first Theology of the Body course, and what I was feeling in my heart, my beloved was on the phone speaking it with his mouth. That was the most incredible experience ever. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. When I'm thinking, you're feeling, and what I'm feeling, you're thinking. That was awesome. I'd never experienced that before, and I was completely blown away, and I realized that that's what this is all about. That's why God called us to become the one. This is how He's calling us to become one. For those of you out there that don't know, we have an awesome series in our diocese that's offered from the Family Life Office. It's called For Two Shall Become One, and it's helping couples become that one, tapping into that reality of who we are, what we're all about, what marriage is all about, what family life should look like. And a lot of times, I always reflect to the beginning of us. We didn't have that available. I didn't know where to go, what to do, who to turn to. And I'm pretty sure I could have gone to a priest, but I didn't have that relationship then with God the Father, let alone our priest or our parish family. That was non-existent. Now, there is opportunities for couples to plug in without being connected to a parish, without even having a relationship with God. If you are longing for more in your relationship, in this union, in your married life, and you just don't know where to turn, for two shall become one is there. It's open to everyone, anyone seeking, longing, looking for more in their love, even in their relationships. It helps you see what it should look like, what it should feel like, because that stirring within us is real. We are all meant for so much more, and we don't tap into that because we're so stuck within ourselves. It's so sad, but that's the reality. That's who I was in the beginning. It was all about me. What I wanted, what I needed, and I didn't care who it hurt in order for me to get it, for me to obtain that. And but that's who we are. That's who I was. So again, marriage was not what I thought it was going to be. It's far greater. It's so much more beautiful, and it's so merciful. It is so real, and it's so beautiful. And I'm going here to a marriage fully alive. This is married and being fully alive. And this is what our awesome catechism says in 1642. God gives spouses here on earth a foretaste, a glimmer, a glimpse of the wedding feast of the Lamb. A foretaste, a glimpse of heaven. He gives that to us. If you look around at married people, they don't seem very happy. They don't seem very joyful. They don't look like they've encountered heaven in the midst of it. Why is that? I firmly believe because we're trying to do marriage all on our own, without God in it, without His design, without considering His plan for us. And that sucks. That really does. Because that is not marriage. And we're doing a poor job of witnessing to the beauty of married life. We are. Because we're so stuck on ourselves. And this is what For Two Shall Become One is all about. Is bringing couples forward. Encountering other couples. And encountering Christ within that love. Within the love of that couple. And that's hard to do when you're trying to do that by yourself. It's a struggle. And, we have friends that have traveled with us in and out of 4-2. And I know that for a fact, for us, it's continued to help us tap into this deeper, greater love that we're made for. And God's love, if God is love, this is a beautiful gift. If God is love, and God is not in our love, what does that look like? If God is love, and God is not a part of our love, and more specifically, the love expressed between a man and his wife, between husband and wife, if there is no God in the midst of that, what does that look like? It's not love. I hate to tell you that, but it's not. It's more of a manipulation, more of a self-seeking, pleasure. It's about what you can do for me, what I can do for you. If you do this, I'll do that. It's so sad, but those are the games we play. And that's not marriage. That is not according to what God had planned. And I only speak this because I've done it. I've lived this out, and it was completely wrong. And it was so sad because it taught so many wrong ways of looking at married life, especially our children. And so now we have to redeem all that. We have to continue to repair all of that. And thankfully, God is merciful because we've tapped into that beauty of forgiveness. And this family is all about being able to set one another free in those lies that we bought into for so long. And so that's the good part. This marriage fully alive is about that, seeking where we've been twisted for a moment, or we tainted that image, or we lived that out not so greatly, and being able to untwist, begin to heal those places, and redeem and restore. Isn't that what Christ came for? He came to give us life in abundance, not just merely existing. And married life calls that to task. We're called here to bring the greater out of that person. And we can't do it alone. We can't. We just can't. That's just not what we're made for. We're made for this communion. Another awesome quote from our catechism is 1821, where he talks about that union between husband and wife and how in the end, Christ, the bridegroom, is so ready to be reunited with his bride, the church. That's us. And in that, be in a happiness and a rapture that can never end. Envelop each one of us into this happiness and rapture that will never end. That is so awesome. And here in this life, we should be catching glimpses of it within marriage, within family life. Now, if we look around, how much of heaven are we actually tapping into in our everyday lives? Yeah, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. Not if God is in our love. Not if God is a part of that. So remember in the beginning I said where for us, the first 5-6 years of relationship, of living together, of playing married, sex was here and God was way out there. He was not even in the picture. It was non-existent. The only time God came into the picture was when we were seeking sacraments. We had a child. Now, when I was in that phase of the married and broken, which is still kind of sort of here in the now, because we'll never be complete, we'll never be perfect in this life. But this journey is meant for purgation. This journey is meant for that purification. Don't wait till life is over and, oh well, here we go. No, do this now so you can catch on to those glimpses of heaven here and now. So now, sex is here and God was brought a little closer with the married and broken stage. Now the marriage fully alive, married life, and it being alive, God and sex are one on one. What we tapped into in all this ministry of working with marriages, with couples, was the reality of how beautiful the spirit and the body truly are one. And in married life, that is so evident. When I am not on top of my spiritual game, my body just plummets. I don't feel like engaging with people. I don't feel like, don't touch me, leave me alone, keep your distance. And same goes with my body. When I'm not being attentive to what my body needs, my spiritual life kind of suffers because of that as well. Same in that communion with the one, with your beloved. If one of us is struggling spiritually, we both struggle. But one of us should be aware, conscientious of the fact that, hey, I need to get on my knees for him. I need to say some prayers for her. I need to lift her up because something's happening. That's the beauty of marriage. We can minister grace to one another. That's awesome. That sacrament of matrimony means just that. We minister grace to one another, over one another. And in that, it flows over into our family life. So when husband and wife are truly engaging in this love fully alive, that grace is more than enough. It is sufficient. Yes, you will be tried. Yes, your children will struggle. Yes, they will have questions. Yes, they will have fears. Yes, they will have doubts. But all of that is possible in and through the grace that is ministered between husband and wife. In and through the grace and power and mercy of God. So, that is living marriage fully alive. Oh my goodness. It has been so awesome. I'm so glad that God just kept pushing me on this one and just share, because it's tough. Married life is tough. It's not a piece of cake, but it is so worth it to be able to tap into glimpses of heaven here and now. Sign me up, because when I see that happening and lived out, it makes me grow in my desire and yearning and longing to be with Him eternally. We were meant for this eternal exchange of love. That is what we're meant for. We are meant for so much more. And so, married life is a glimpse into that more when we're living marriage according to God's design and plan. So, I hope you guys have really received, because this has just filled me up with so much of where we need to go from here, what we need to do from here as a couple, as a family. And God has so much planned, and I'm so grateful. But I hope that in the meantime, you will benefit from this. Please share this with all others. Know that we will continue to persevere on this, because I know that good things will happen and continue to happen. It's already happening. We've had some messages, and we've been able to engage in the conversation here and there. And so that's been a blessing and a half, because folks that we would have never encountered, we have, and that's been good. And so it's happening. So our challenge for you is, if anything you received today kind of stirred your heart, and you're able to go back, start the video all over again, and go back to the beginning, and go back to our beginning, and kind of figure out where you are in your married life, in living in this relationship. Where are you, and what is stirring within? What is God prompting from you? First of all, you sought this video out, so that means you're looking for more, and that's a great place to begin. Take time to reflect on what He's asking of you now, okay? Also, thank you so much for listening and tuning in, but I would also like to engage in conversation. Tell us what you thought about marriage in the beginning, what your first thoughts of marriage was going to be, and what it was supposed to look like, and maybe even some of the letdown is like, what? I know my huge letdown was, it's not about me. That was huge. And you think that getting married is going to complete me and make me whole, and yeah, in a sense it does, but not in the way the world tries to sell it. So I really, I'd love to chat about something like that with you, or maybe something that, maybe an awesome story. Maybe your grandparents shared this love story, and I'd love to hear those too. So don't forget to comment below. Also, if you like this and it was helpful, give us that thumbs up. That encourages us to keep moving forward, to keep doing these and dropping these and helping each other walk this journey in married life and family life, and to tap into the beautiful gift of living love fully alive. I know that it's difficult, and it's a challenge, and it's constant work, and that's a good thing. It's a very good thing, because that leaves us open for so much more, and God just pierces our hearts there. So if you want to continue to journey with us, don't forget to subscribe to Love Fully Alive. I think it's under Stephanie Frosto, Love Fully Alive. So please find our channel, subscribe, and share us with others. We appreciate the love, and we will continue to persevere for love of you. God bless, and goodbye.